So today I was questioned 3 different questions. So I will share my screen as always. Share my main screen. Okay. Hopefully you don't see yourselves now. And we are going to go through the same way we went through the previous time, through the questions, trying to answer as much as we could do, because sometimes we cannot answer specifically. Let's say there is not a specific answer to some questions. So we will go around the questions, find some solutions, and if you have any extra questions or anything, you can, of course, you can ask me. So the first question is, what types of maintenance should be done on 3D printers, especially when the next use is not foreseen? And the next one is nozzle clogged, what causes it, how to avoid it, and how to fix it. So I will try to answer those 2 together. So when we talk about maintenance in 3D printers, we talk about maintenance in a machine, like a car, like a CNC machine, like any machine. So a machine has some, let's say, hardware which is, you can, let's say it's forever, and it has hardware that you can provide as consumable. Now, let's go through the main hardware of the machine, which is the belts, the guides, how's it called, the frame. So in this type of hardware, the only thing you can do is basic machinery stuff, like lubricant on guides, like this photo right here, where you can put lubricant on the guide in order to help the machine move. You can also tighten some nuts and some bolts, like you would do in any machine. If you see a nut which is not really tightened, you can check it with a tool or with your hand. So make sure that all these things are tightened, because with the use of the machine, and of course, the most important thing is the retentioning of the belts. So what you have to do is touch the belts, see if they are actually tightened up, and if they are not, then you have to retention. You have to basically of installing the belts so that they are tight enough to provide this smooth movement back and forth on the axis. Now, the second thing is the nozzle. Now we begin to talk about the consumables, let's say, that we use on a printer, because a nozzle can always be bought. You can always buy it for €5 a nozzle. It's nothing much. So in the nozzle, why would you change the nozzle? Why would you do the maintenance? Because clogging. So since clogging occurs, you have to do something. You have to maintain. Why does it occur? Because either we have over extrusion or we have under extrusion, meaning that when you were printed, you actually failed to extrude the right amount of material due to many reasons. And what happens is that there is still some material inside your nozzle, which won't help the material go through. So to prevent this, preventing means doing something before it happens. So what you can do to prevent it is to buy good quality filament. And when I mean good quality filament, I wouldn't suggest that you go buy a 100 euros, let's say, per kilo filament. That's not what I'm talking about. It's just to be clear that we have to prevent buying a filament of 9-8 euros, which doesn't have the density that we need, doesn't have the right elasticity. Just generally, what I would suggest is buying filaments like eSun Plus, like NEMA 3D, which is basically a relatively cheap filament, but with very good reviews, which is used in most 3D printers. The second thing is to double check the optimal settings for your filament. As we have already mentioned, the manufacturer always suggests the optimal temperature, the optimal way to use a filament. Temperature is basically the most important thing here. And you can always buy good quality nozzles. I don't remember if I mentioned that, but a good quality nozzle means that it is designed better. It has the material flows better inside it, which means that material inside the nozzle, which will stick on the walls which will stick in the side walls of the nozzle. Okay, let me show that, because this is kind of hard to explain. So if I click nozzle clogging, we will probably see some pictures. Nozzle clogging. Okay, for example, in this picture right here, here you can see that those walls, no, this is even better. Now you can see the difference between a good nozzle and a bad nozzle. Now the good nozzle is perfectly designed, perfectly shaped, which means that the material is very hard to stick on the walls. But here, as you can see, it's much easier for the material to stay here and not flow inside. So if your nozzle is clogged and you can't use it anymore, then just buy a better nozzle, in my opinion. Now, of course, before buying a nozzle, you can do the standard process of trying to remove this excess material inside the nozzle. How to do it? As I said, heat up and use a wire brush, which is this, or you can use this type of wire brushes here. They look like those things you put between the teeth in order to clean your teeth. Most probably you've seen those, and you actually remove all the melted and unmelted plastic when the nozzle is on the printer, because you will always need to have the nozzle heated up in order to for the material to be liquid, because if it's in a solid form, then it's not, you cannot do it. It's not just hard, you just can't do it. Now, Of course, you may encounter partially clogged nozzles, which means that a little part of the material flows, but not all of it. Now, what you do in this case is you turn the temperature higher and higher and higher, and then repeat the process of actually unclogging the nozzle. And the second thing you can do when you have a partially clogged nozzle is perform a cold pull, which means that you actually, this is pretty rough, you actually take the filament that is not printed yet, and you just drag it out from the nozzle, which hopefully will drag out the rest of the plastic part. Now, this is not something that I recommend, and always don't do it, don't do this thing when the 3D printer is assembled. You have to deassemble the printer and then have in your hand the nozzle and the filament and just detach those two. Now, if nothing works, of course, you can buy a new nozzle. As I said, you can see here the differences between a new and an old nozzle. So there's nothing more to discuss here. And always keep in mind that the nozzle costs from 3 to 10 euros. It's nothing. Now, the third thing, and in my opinion, the most important one when we talk about maintenance, because all the other things are metal parts, so there is not much to maintain in short periods of time. But the one thing that is important to maintain in short periods of time is filament, is the filament that you use, because if you have a filament out for many days or for many months, there are two things that will occur. Then the first thing is that your filament will collect dust, and the second thing is that it will, the moisture will be inside your filament, and you don't want that. You don't want that because now your filament is not 100% how it was manufactured. It's not 100% plastic. Now, what you can do is, for dust, what you can do is use dust filters like the one here, that you can actually 3D print them and find some type of sponge and just put it before your extruder somewhere and keep it there, or exactly after the filament. You can do custom stuff to create those types of, like this one. This is custom. You can actually create this box, put something inside, and when the filament goes through, before it goes inside the printer, it gets cleaned. One more thing, no, there's nothing else for dust. Now, the second thing, as we said, is moisture. And in order to prevent your filament from moisture, the only thing you can do is drag out the oxygen, basically, or generally the air. So, of course, the first thing you do is use vacuum storage bags if you can do it. This is the best way to do it, because basically you create a vacuum which is there is no air inside, so there is no moisture. And the second thing is buying dry boxes like this one here, which are very popular, like this one here, because dry box is always a way to not just to maintain a filament, but to, let's say, refresh the filament, which means that if I had the filament outside for months and it has moisture now, I can put it inside the dry box for 1 or 2 or 3 days, keep it there, and where the moisture when the moisture gets evacuated, and then probably I can use again this filament. And the third thing is that the dissecant, I don't know how they're called, dissecants, I think, which are those things that you use for the clothes and all that stuff. These are the same, those balls that you use inside for the moisture, just for the moisture. So if you don't have vacuum storage bags, if you don't have dried boxes and you have dissecants, you can put them inside the bag together, just close the bag with the dissecants and keep the filament there. Now, fourth thing, which is not exactly maintenance, but it's what you always have to do before printing again, the recalibration. So, as we said, after you have fixed your nozzle, you have added the filament that you wanted to add it, which is not moisturized. You checked everything on your filament. Now what you have to do is to recalibrate the printer. And how do you do this? You perform basically tests. The most well-known test is the bed leveling test. As you can see here, this is one type of bed leveling test. So let's say this is the center of the bed. Those are the corners. So basically, this is an STL file that you can put it inside your printer through the G-code, of course, and start printing so that you can see that your first layer is where you want it to be. As you may remember, you should always do the leveling process before doing the test. Now, some other tests are the overhang test, which is this one. As you can see here, this is not just an overhang test. Here you can see the hole tests and some other bunch of tests. And the third one is a bridging test, which basically shows you how much you can print in a line here to here without the supports. It starts from the small one, bigger, bigger, bigger. And here you can see how much you can print without supports. And of course, there is a bunch of other tests that you can perform. You can always go to Thingiverse and just type out test and check out what is out there. Second question. If the extrusion stops midway through the printing process, for lack, for example, for lack or breakage of filament or because of clogging, is it possible to continue printing the part? Problem with filament breakage, what can I do, how to proceed? Okay, let's first answer the other question. So we need to resume the filament after the failure. There's two ways to do it. There's the easy way. And what I mean by the easy way is that you already have a mid to high-end printer which has the types of sensor to understand that, oh, right now I'm not printing right, so I stop. So what you do in this case is that, of course, if the 3D printer understands by itself that there is a problem, it will stop. And then what you have to do is do some type of maintenance, maybe add new filament or fix the nozzle, unclog it or whatever. And then you just click resume and your printer starts printing again. That is the easy way. Now, what if you don't have a high-end printer and you have a printer like me, which costs 200 euros, which is not much, which of course doesn't include those many sensors and all those great stuff that those industrial printers have, which don't actually need, almost they don't need maintenance for years. So if the printer does not have those sensors, you have to do a basic, let's say, standard process, which kind of goes like that. So the first step is, since you have your 3D print, you tape it down in the position it was, just in case it will unstuck. If you feel safe that it won't unstuck, just keep it there. Just forget about that step. Now, the second step is measuring the height of the part. So, and not like this. In my opinion, this is not a very good way to do it. If you're sure that this, let's say this is 3.5, okay, millimeters. Okay, fine by that, but maybe find a better way to calculate this height, because you have to be very exact about the height, because the next step is to divide the height of your print by the layer height that you printed, so that you know how many layers you have printed until this moment. And since you know that, and you know the height of your model, you go to the Ultimaker Cura slicing program, or any slicing program that you use, and you export the G code. You go to the G code and you basically delete all the part that was up to the moment that you printed your part. You delete this and you start the code the moment the nozzle stopped. How do you do it, you ask? This is a topic for another day, because it may take more than 1 hour to discuss about it and go through the whole process. But basically, it's not something. It's not rocket science. You can go to YouTube and you can. Since everybody has his personal their personal 3D printer, the best thing you can do is search on that 3D printer, because maybe sometimes you have other G code startup files and it gets messy. But the general idea is always the same for all printers. You just go to the G code, delete the first part, keep the second part that you need to print the next prints, and that's it. Now, another great idea is not to do all of that and actually measure the height of your print, and then just go to, let's say, Tinkercad, delete this height and print the other part, and then stick them together, which is much easier if this part is not, the geometry is not weird and all that stuff. And maybe it will help you with the supports and everything. So keep that in mind. It's much easier to do this, because you just have to measure the height, delete the other part, and print a new file, basically. Okay. And yes, some tips on how to prevent filament breakouts. The first thing to prevent filament breakouts is go back to question 1, which, as we said, where is it? Is here. The main problem with filament breakouts is so always prevent the moisture. And another thing is always, as we said, keep in mind that you need to have good material types. So buy good types of, don't buy the cheapest filament out there. So breakouts occurs mainly due to those reasons. Now, another thing to keep in mind regarding filament breakouts is the room temperature. Now you need to keep the room, hold on a minute. hopefully you hear me better now. There was a little bit of noise inside the room. So, as we said, always keep the printer in room temperature. Now, I had a personal experience with this because I wanted to create a 3D printer enclosure in order to avoid these beautiful noises of my printer. So I created this box, but the problem was that when I started printing and printing and printing, after 1 or 2 hours inside this box, the box was getting hotter and hotter and hotter. And what happened is that the filament was getting loose and starting to become a liquid, even not liquid, but close, let's say more elastic, before even getting inside the extruder, which meant that it wasn't extruding well, and a failure was there always. What I had to do is create a fan system in order to bring inside temperature, so that my enclosure had a temperature of 30 to 70 degrees to 40, sorry, 30 to 40 degrees at most, so that I can print whatever I want. Now, if the filament breaks again, yeah, throw it away. Like what I said in the beginning. If you do all that stuff and you feel that everything is fine, maybe it's the problem of the material, or maybe the spool of the filament wasn't closed, like it wasn't closed with vacuum perfectly, so it failed to print. So keep that in mind. Maybe it's just you may have to change filament in some cases. And the last question, it's regarding the 3D map image conversion on the terrain to STL. When converted to 3D print, does not always correspond to the chosen area of the map. Why does this happen sometimes and sometimes not? Does the chosen area have limits on dimensions? How to choose parameters? So, regarding the first question, let's go to the program and answer that. Now, I'm pretty sure that the person who asked that did the same thing I did the first times I used the programs, and I had the same question. So let's go to, I don't know, let's go to Sicily. Now I have this red square. Let's make it bigger. Let's use a scaling factor. No, let's actually, in order to become faster, let's do something else. Okay, so that we can create something smaller. Okay, so we have the Zakynthos Island. Of course, you can make a bigger height so that you have the difference between the height and the water drop. And now what we do is generate model so that we can download it. And of course, then you have to click download, downloaded it, and I have it in here. Now, if I open it, let's wait for Kira to open this there. Now, if I open it, I will, of course, I will see Zakynthos. There it is. And what somebody said is that the main question was, okay, now you have Zakynthos here, you have the STL, but if I go to, let's say, I don't want Zakynthos, but I want Lefkada, for example. I click again, download Lefkada this time. What I get is the same name, and if I extract it, okay, perfect. No, hopefully I can. No, again I can't. Anyway, if I extract it, I have the same STL and it's Zakynthos again. So what's the problem here? Because I did it twice, at least twice before I understood. Since you are here and you have selected what you have selected, you first have to click generate model. Just click generate model, download. And as you can see now, the name is also different. This is not 92862, but it's 92866 this time. So now it's more obvious that if I extract my files to that it? No, that's not it. As you can see, it has a different name, and obviously this is Lefkada. This is a different type of map. So yeah, I'm pretty sure this was the problem to this question, because it says in the 3D map image conversion terrain STL, the marked section as we said, when converted to 3D, does not always correspond to the chosen area on the map. So if you click generate model and then download, I'm pretty sure that it will always correspond to the map that you have selected. So hopefully that solves the question. Some others are, why does this happen sometimes and sometimes not? Yes, that's exactly what I said, because when you mean by sometimes, you mean that the first time that you do it, it works, but the second time it doesn't. It doesn't because you don't click generate model again and again the time you do it. Now, does a chosen area have limits on dimensions? How to choose parameters? Now, when you say limits on dimensions, the question is yes. Of course, you can change all those from here, and you can basically change the box. Now, you can change the height from here. You can change the width from here and have different width. If you want a bigger width, you can have a bigger width. If you have a smaller width and a bigger height, you can have a bigger height. If you want a square, then you maybe want something like that. And here is the box scaling factor, which helps you create a bigger box. Now, if I make it 14, if I make it 20, let's say the bigger that we can do. The biggest that we can do can be all the half of the Balkans and the Italy together. So this is the biggest that you can do. You can of course rotate the box like that. Okay. And okay, like that. Now the reason you see this is that it's not a square because the Earth is round, so that's a way to adjust, let's say, the square to the Earth. Of course, there is vertical scaling, which is important when you see the file. So if you double the vertical scaling, then you can see double the mountains, for example. And here you can adjust the water drop, how much the water you will see, how much of the water. No, date. Well, if you let's say have a 2 millimeter water drop, you will see the water on a lower case than the other file, so you will understand that, oh, this is water. And yeah, that's it. So basically, those 5 are the parameters that you want, and even those are not much important because this is a standard one for vertical scaling. And those 3 are the most important to adjust the parameters on your map that you want to create.
Marco, we have a question from Pia.
Yeah, I just saw
that. If we
can
print the whole world.
So with this program, you can print the whole world map. Yeah, as I said, at least from what I know, maybe Thanos can help me in that. This is the biggest. This is the biggest square that you can create, right?
Well, yes. You are right, and I recommend, in case you want to print Europe, Africa map, or the whole world map, it's better to find an SVG picture. If you see previous webinars about how we can import SVG files in the Tinkercad or straight away in the slicer, this is the best option if you want to print a large map. Find in the Google, write, for example, world map in SVG file with an extension SVG, and or Europe map, and download this SVG file, and then you can import it straight away in your slicer and print it. Or if you want to add a base or a text, then the ideal is to import this map in Tinkercad, add the base, add the text you want, or probably a frame, whatever you want, make this adjustment, and then convert it into STL and print it through the slicer.
Exactly.
I hope that you understand our explanation.
But terrain heights as well. Yeah, that's what I wanted to mention also. If you use an SVG file, no, they're not terrain files. That's actually true. I don't know where you can find the whole terrain stuff with the map all together. Now, one thing you can do is start printing part by part by part, but this will take a lot, and as you may understand, the detail depends on the part. So if you want, let's say, a map of the whole world of 1 by 1, then it's not easy to see the actual terrain on that area. It's very hard, as you may understand. So the closer you go to the map, for example, here on an island, for example, the better you can understand the terrain. So if you want to print the whole map, as you may understand, you may need, let's say, a whole room to print so that you can understand some part of the terrain. If that helps.
There are also, guys, other applications, web-based applications that do similar thing as this application, the STL, the terrain to STL. You can search in the internet, but the most of them are more complicated or they are not free. So probably you can find an application in order to print larger maps or even the world map with the ability to have mountains and different elevations depending on the topography of the landscape. But probably you will need a paid account. You have to pay for that. For example, I'm trying to remember because we have used some other application. just give me a minute. Okay, I find here one, but you have to search and examine if you must pay and what are the abilities of this other application. I upload it in the chat. So you need to make a small research in the web. Okay, okay, yes, Pia. Okay, thanks. In general, our organization, we are always trying to find free applications and tools, because we also, all our activities are volunteering, or our target group is a teacher from schools. So we always try to find free applications, or to use the free versions of other applications. So Marco, I think you completed your presentation. Is that right?
Yes, I think so too.
Okay. Do you have any question for Marco about the topics he covered?
I just added one thing also from Thingiverse on the chat for those who want to print the world map. It's close to what Pia just dropped, but maybe for those who don't want to pay money, obviously what Pia sent is much more textured and better, but another choice is the one that I just sent, so keep that in mind. You can always find, as we said, you can always find things on Thingiverse. How maybe Thanos, you can also add some more of those free STL file providers, let's say, sites. Yeah, basically search for free STLs and you may find a lot of stuff. And obviously for the world map, you may find a lot of stuff because it's a pretty common file. So yes, any questions? Hopefully there's no questions since we are already.
Hello, Marcus.
Yes, hello, Rita.
Thank you for your presentation. The last question is mine because I make, you say, I generate a new model, but sometimes it's okay. Another times I choose the area I want to print, but it's different. Are in water. I don't know why, because sometimes it's good, it's like I choose, and others no. I don't understand what is not okay, because I made in the same way, and sometimes it's right, all is right, and others no.
Okay, when you say it's wrong, what do you mean? Like, did you, I don't know, is it the thing that you print, is it fine? Like, is it textured the way you asked, or is it a totally different file from you don't understand what this is?
No, in this last program, Terrâneo, I choose one area from the map to print. And I print this area, it's all okay, it's like I want. And after I go to print another area, but I generate a new model, like you say, but the model appears not the land, maybe sometimes only water. I don't understand why it's different, because I choose with the rectangle and the area. I don't understand why sometimes it's all is okay, and after if I made the next it's not okay. I don't understand why, because I choose the same settings and
You just generate the model.
yes, I generate the model.
Well, if I may interrupt, your printer, is it enclosed or is it open?
Sorry, but it's before I put in the printer. In when I generate the model, it's not. It's before I put in the printer. It's when I generate the model. The file is okay in some part, and another part I generate another model. It's maybe only appears only water, not land, and not correspond the selection I made in the map. I don't understand why.
You lost me there, Marcos. Where
No,
is
I
Rita
understand what you're
generating the
saying.
file?
Yes, I generate the new model always. I make the same always.
Where?
Okay, and you import it in the slicer after that.
But to import the slide, I need to add a model, and the problem is with the model.
So
Where do you do the generation of the file?
Yes,
Where, in what program?
it is the last one, Terranio.
Terrain to STL, okay.
Yes,
You
yes.
press
This is an
generate
online
the
program,
model,
okay.
yes,
Yes.
and then the download button appear. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
You press download
Yes,
and you get an STL file.
yes.
Okay, so far. So after that, you have to open this STL file with a
Yes,
slicer.
when I
with
open,
Mhm.
some is okay, it's like I choose,
Okay,
and others no. I don't understand why.
you see in the slicer a flat surface.
Yes, but not okay. Not it's not the area I choose.
Well, if it's an online program, it all has to do with the communication between your network and the network that this program is installed in. So many times you may have a problem uploading. You don't know that the upload was not successful. The program thought that read something, but if something works and then does not work and it's from an online tool, just try it again, because maybe it's all problem of the communication.
Yes, because one day I make one, and 20 minutes after I go try another, it's not okay. Maybe, and another day I try again because I think it's maybe internet connect, but I don't understand. Some is okay or not.
If it's internet, no solution there.
I going try again.
Okay.
Yes, thank you so much.
Just
You're welcome.
to be fair, Rita, I actually tried to download some multiple models here, and basically I also failed once to drag an STL file with terrain, just a plain file, just a flat surface. Is that what you're saying? Just a flat surface. Yeah, maybe this is due to the browser program, because it may decide that you want another part of the map, so it decides that it will print the sea like that. That's what I get, because it redirected me to part of the sea which was just the sea when I click generate model or something like that. So
yes, because I choose land and show me after only water and not the package.
This exact thing just happened to me. So you're not delusional. You're right. The only thing you have to do is obviously to try again, because obviously there is a problem with the program.
However, let me tell you something, because I have used this application a lot of times. If you select a very large area and you don't increase the vertical scaling, then you will take a flat surface. Do you understand what I said? If the
Yes.
area is too large, you must increase a lot the vertical scaling. Otherwise, you will not see any difference in the elevation. So probably,
I try change these settings and the vertical, because it's large, we need to bigger, large vertical, large scale.
mhm, yes, yes.
The
Because
details.
when you select a very large area, the elevation, actually, the difference in the elevation is lost. And what you get is a flat surface. So probably is that.
And maybe because the area is not very high, it's more
Yeah.
some areas more flat. Maybe
Mhm.
I go try, because I try one area. It's in example I show you in the presentation. Our region
For
is
example,
not very high. Maybe it's the problem.
we can check that. Let me share my screen for a while. Okay, so we are here, for example. I will go somewhere that I know that there is not a great elevation. But where actually? Okay, let's go, for example, in this area. Okay, box width. Okay, so for example, this area, and vertical scaling 1. Come on. Okay, and here, if I if I don't choose any water drop, I will let it like that, 0. So no difference between water and land. Generate model, download the model. Just give me a minute. Extract here. And actually, it's not a large area, but let's see if the difference in the elevation. Open with Cura. Sorry guys, but I have a lot of programs and softwares in my laptop, and I must make an upgrade to my computer. Okay, you can see here that it's very difficult to see any difference in the elevation here.
Yes.
Just a very small one. And this was a very small area, actually. I didn't select a large area, but it hasn't any big mountains here. And also you can see that because I didn't check the water drop value, I didn't increase this value, the water drop, I left it 0. So there is no distinction between the water and the land. It's very difficult to understand. So probably this is the problem. Okay, you can check it and try it again, and remember to choose vertical scaling at
But
least
I
2
changed.
or 3.
I changed
And-
vertical.
Okay, vertical scaling and water drop. If you
Water
also
drop
have,
is very important.
yes, at
So
least
you
1
understand the
millimeter.
part of the map.
Drop.
Mhm. So I guess that was we answered this question. I think what Anna said should probably fix this.
I will try
Okay.
it.
Okay, any other question, guys, from anyone? If you don't have any questions, then I have to say that we just completed all of our webinars. And first of all, I want to thank you, all of you, for your patience and your dedication all these months to this project. It's very important to find out that there are teachers that spend their free time in order to improve themselves, first of all, and on the other hand, to offer better learning methods, better learning techniques, and better learning content for their students, and help especially students that are in need and coming from vulnerable groups, such as, for example, the visually impaired students. Thank you very much, all of you, and all the Enable team. Thank you all. It's very important for us to see that our work has fans and people that they want to learn and follow us. Feel free to ask any partner of the Inside project for further information. As I told you, you can always find in our platform the learning content, the presentations, and the video recorded files. I think it's a very dynamic tool, our platform, with a lot of resources and very useful for you and your students. So that's all for me.
Janos, I want to say I received one lesson plan for one participant, and another asked me what time you are to give to finish, because some teacher in Portugal want to finish the course and make her lessons plans. We need to say give some time, because what do you think about the two final of the next month of June?
I think that we can discuss as partnership, the partners of this project.
But we need to say today to the people who are listening to us to know when it's possible to send. I give my email again. And if there are some doubts, I are free to respond to the lesson plans. And if you want to send me to me, I receive and see it's all okay.
I believe that we can also inform all participants with a mail. We have their mail about what we will decide, but of course the main decision, I believe it's yours, Rita. For me it's okay, whatever date you can decide. For us it's okay. I think you have the first word on that, to set a deadline for these lesson plans.
Because the teachers now is, I see in Portugal, are in some phase of exams and many things to do. And I think to final of this month is very short time to finish. If because many need to receive a certificate. They need to. And
That's okay, I understand,
I
but
think is and one of the participants, Vera Rapagão, say to us to say a deadline now. I think it's the 30th of June is a good and give time to people who want to finish the course.
We will decide that, but Rita, as I told you, is that this is your decision.
Okay, because the people need to know, and after we confirm by email, okay?
Yes, because concerning Enable Greece, we completed the last webinar, so I think you should decide about the deadline of the lesson plans, as this is you are the leader for this procedure. It's your decision. For me, it's okay.
Okay.
Okay, 30th of June. And also, as always, we can inform all the
email,
participants with a mail.
Because today are missing many.
Yes, of course. So, thank you guys. If you don't want to add anything else,
Well,
thank you again for joining us this evening, and thank you in general for all your participation. So many evenings with us. I wish a pleasant night and nice holidays very soon. Summer is getting closer. So I believe you all have the ability for some resting and holidays.
Ask for us the evaluation of this webinar.
Yes, of course.
We need to evaluation of webinar.
You are right. In any way, closing the meeting, in your browser automatically will open the evaluation form, but I will also upload here the form in the chat. Just a moment. Okay, 14th webinar evaluation form. And okay, so here we are. To everyone in the meeting. Okay, I just upload in the chat.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you all. Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a nice evening. Καλή νύχτα.
Καλό βράδυ.
Καληνύχτα, ευχαριστούμε.
Καληνύχτα, ευχαριστούμε.